Hi everyone, I'm Yvette Gibbs and I'm the founder of Awujo Consulting. In this video, you're going to hear me and my dear friend and business partner, George Brough of Artha Leadership, talk about how companies really benefit from hearing and valuing diverse perspectives. George is a business transformation specialist and he utilizes a methodology called action learning to help companies recognize their untapped talent. You're going to hear him talk about it a bit in this video. And if there's anything that resonates with you, or if there's anything that you want to know, any questions that you have about it, about Awujo, about Artha, please feel free to drop it in the comments. I'm going to keep this short because I want you to get into this video, and thank you. I hope you enjoy. Bye. Go ahead, George.
Thank you, Yvette. It's a pleasure to be with you. And it's a pleasure to be able to spend some time with your audience as well. As Yvette said, my name is George Brough. I think I was Scottish Brazilian, but I think I'm now Brazilian Scottish.
That's what I refer to you as.
I was I was born in Scotland many decades ago, and but I moved to Brazil about 25 years ago. And I am currently CEO of Artha Leadership, and we are a global consulting firm that helps organizations with their leadership and their teams. But basically, we help with business transformation. We help them become the companies that they want to become. And we firmly believe that the only way you can do that is by using to the full the people that you've got in your organization. So it's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you, thank you. And George, I don't say this as much anymore now that and since I'm as old as hip hop and now that I'm 48, we'll be 49 soon, but you helped me figure out who I wanted to be when I grow up. So thank you for helping me with that. And I know that you do quite well helping organizations do the same because we've worked on projects together. So
Yeah.
thank you again. So, George, I'm bringing you here because you are a part of my support team and we're also business partners. And, we work together for a number of years. I've been in the talent management space for a while now. We've seen the world of work change quite a bit. We've seen how technology has entered the space. We've seen how it's kind of in a lot of ways, I'm not going to say taken over, but it has more of an impact on the assessment world and the talent management world than it did before. So, um, what I have noticed over the years is people are leaning more on technology for their assessment needs, and it makes sense. You know, you interact with the dashboard, you interact with LMS systems and things like that. But one of the things that I'm a big fan of is helping people to recognize that um, it's connecting with people. So it's that human connection that really makes a team, makes an organization, and really, brings everyone together to, support a common goal, which is success of an organization. So I've always paid a lot of attention to how people start any type of conversation around talent management. And for me, I'm always listening out for diversity. Like, are you are you paying attention to your talent in the way that your talent wants to be seen, wants to be understood? And for all the years that I've worked, it has been hard for me to show up authentically, and that was a lot because it was my own doing in a lot of ways. And that was because I felt as though I had an idea of how corporate America wanted me to show up. And you helped me to let go of those limiting beliefs because the best person I could be was and is myself.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, isn't it? The whole talent management thing. I mean, a couple of things, right? One is, I think most organizations are not looking to do what you said, which is to understand the needs of their talent and to maximize them. They don't care. And that's why they lean on technology. And that's why they lean on assessments. And that's why they lean on, technology and processes and stuff like that, because they don't want to do the hard work, which is deal with human beings, right? I mean, most businesses are still built around Henry Ford, command and control, production line, Excel spreadsheets, processes, anything and everything except dealing with nasty, complicated, complex, wonderful, glorious people, right? And yet all of their problems come from the fact that they don't understand and use their people correctly. I mean, if you listen to business, are always complaining, we can't find the right people, our people are not producing. It's like, join the dots. Join the dots. It's like you say, whether it's, I mean, and whether we use the words like diversity or whatever, and of course that brings a whole bunch of politically complex issues with it as well, unfortunately. But basically, what it is businesses don't want to deal with people as people, right? And we all suffer from that. I mean, the people who work in the businesses suffer from it. The customers suffer from it. And even those executives who are taking home millions of dollars are suffering from it, because it actually does hurt their bottom line, right? If you're not fully understanding and dealing with the people who produce your product or service, and not fully in understanding and meeting the needs of your clients, obviously that hurts your bottom line. But because it's difficult and because it's hard work and because it goes against what these people were brought up believing and all that kind of stuff, they still don't do it. And we all suffer.
Yeah. So one of the things I believe I've mentioned to you before, and I want to say it here because I do want to get conversations going. But what you described as far as how we look at talent, how we manage talent, the metrics that we pay attention to, a lot of that was during a time where we were big on manufacturing. So you needed people to move a certain way. And now with technology coming in, the technology is taking over in that space, but it's allowing us as humans to start seeing one another. So I believe that if we allow technology to do what technology is supposed to do, what we designed it to do, and to handle the tedious and repetitive work, then we can start paying attention to individuals again, and that being the focus. So it's not, I hear people say that folks need to develop their soft skills, but I think that it goes further than that. Like, we are at a point where we're recognizing that soft skills make the difference. So go ahead and say whatever you need to say.
Completely. And I don't understand this hard skills, soft skills, right? We have skills, right? And you're 100% right. There are things that machines are better at than we are, right?
Yeah.
So give those things to machines. And there are things that we're better at than machines are. So give those things to people. But for 150 years, maybe more than that, we've been trying to get human beings to do machine things, right? And we've been measuring and valuing people according to their ability to do machine things. The thing, there are things that people are good at, right? Some people are really good at making human connections, right? You know that. You walk down the street and there's someone who knows everybody, not just on the block, someone who knows everybody in town, right? There are people who are really creative and are just able to just see things, and in a way that other people can't. You can go down to the playground and see men and women, boys and girls playing basketball, for example, doing things that no machine can do, right? And you can go on TikTok and see people making these incredibly funny, interesting videos. Machines can't do that. AI can't do that, right?
Yeah.
And yet we don't value those things, right? Like if we put it in a business environment, what do businesses do? Oh, we want the top 5% to work in our business. All right, how do you consider the top 5%? How do you categorize that? Well, we use IQ, we use all these standardized tests. All right, so what you want are the top 5% of people who think like that,
Right.
right? So what do you get? You get in your business, and you might even have the illusion of diversity, because you might have people from the Indian subcontinent, you might have people from this place and that, but they all think alike, right? They're all in that top 5% of people who think like that. And then you get someone who thinks completely differently or has a completely different life experience. And instead of valuing that because it's a missing piece, you discount it.
Yeah.
And that's where businesses are losing out, not only on the potential that's already in-house, right? It's already in-house, but they're missing out for their customers. And we do this. I mean, just so people know, this isn't theory, right? Right? I make my living doing this. I make my
Right.
living doing this with Johnson and Johnson, with Honda, with NASDAQ, with these big companies at the top level, right? Senior worldwide VPs. And we go in and we say, put together a multidisciplinary project team with people from different levels of the hierarchy, and everyone gets the same voice. And the outcomes are just incredible. And they go, oh my God, this is revolution. How did you manage to think about that? I was like, you just treat everyone as a human being and you value their experience. And you don't say, oh, because you went to MIT, you're worth more than someone who went to community college, or someone who didn't go to college but's raised 3 kids on her own, or whatever, right? All you have to do is say each individual person has a unique skill set, has a unique set of experiences, therefore a unique way of looking at the world, and that piece of the puzzle will make the whole better.
Yes.
Right? It's really as simple as that. I mean, every organization I've ever worked with, they've produced unbelievable results. We use the action learning methodology, and they're always so surprised that everything was 100% in-house already. They didn't have to go to McKinsey or Deloitte and spend $5 million to get a really nice PowerPoint that was put in a drawer somewhere.
Right.
It was in-house already, with the ladies who work in a certain department, or the interns, or this, that, and do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Those people were already there. They just didn't listen. Like you.
Yeah.
You suffer all your time, right? How many times you'd be banging your head against the wall saying, hey, what about this, guys? Oh, no, you don't know, or this isn't the time, or don't make waves, or all that nonsense.
Yeah.
Let's make waves.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up, George, because I wasn't going to go there, but since you brought it up, over time, I'm sending, or I'm trying to communicate the same message, because I recognize that it's the same issue, and essentially what it is people need to think differently. And I say that not saying that they necessarily need to change their thinking, but they need to understand what it means to be part of a team. When you have talent, you benefit from tapping that talent for their perspectives. You do yourself a benefit getting that diverse perspective. So even if it's something that doesn't work, at least you've thought it through. So you can then say, okay, we've tried this, and here's why. It can't work, won't work, doesn't work, whatever the case may be. But you take the problem solving approach instead of asking people to validate a solution that you believe or you see as a tried and true. So what it gets into is confirmation bias. And then once a project, is launched and it doesn't work the way that it should, people stand back and say, how could that happen? Well, it happened because you did it, the 20th time that same way. So you're going to get the same
Well,
result.
so let's give a really practical example so people know what we're talking about, right?
Okay.
Do you have a smartphone? Do you have a cell phone?
I do. A smartphone. Yes.
Do you use it?
Yes.
Right. Do you know other Black women who have cell phones and who use them?
Yes.
Right. How many Black women do you think write apps for cell phones?
I don't know a lot.
No,
I don't know any.
but not nearly enough, right?
Yeah.
So you've got this huge population, right? Huge population who have a certain, and not that they have a uniform experience or whatever, but their viewpoint, their needs, their desires, their voice isn't heard.
Yeah.
And they have to consume this product, which is oftentimes written by a man, right? Mostly approved by a white man, most of the time, or not approved by a white man. And then the white man executive, right, then says, well, why are people not using our products? Like, because you didn't include their experience in it. They can't, it doesn't attend their needs. It doesn't speak to them.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't let that voice be heard, because you didn't value that voice. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And not just, we're not just talking technology, right? In any business, right? This is why the products and services don't attend their client base, because they don't allow those voices to be heard.
Right.
And
Right.
you know that. How many times did you turn around, when we worked together, and you were saying to people, yeah, but this and this is happening, on the front line. And they're like, yeah, but we've got this wonderful idea and we've got this concept and we thought, come on, man, just fix it.
Right, right. Because I don't want to say I told you so. I do not want to say I told you so. I really don't. I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to avoid that because I was the client advocate. And when you're working with these huge clients, you can't have mistakes like that happen. I don't even want to be embarrassed, a former boss of mine and someone that, you work with quite a bit, he let me know that you're always contributing or making a withdrawal from that goodwill account. And I would want to make more deposits than withdraw. So when things failed or didn't go the ideal way, that was a withdrawal from that goodwill account. So you do lose, some points, some credibility, when
Sure.
things don't turn out the way expected. And it's so frustrating when someone saw what was coming down the pipe, when they anticipated that issue
Sure.
and communicated that, and that was ignored. So
And
that's
so let's look at the other side now. So we've talked about the clients, right?
yeah.
Who are important, because it's the clients who pay the bills, right? Clients
Yes.
pay the bills, right? Let's look at the other side now. Who does the work? Who produces the product? Who produces the service? Right? The people on the front line,
Yeah.
right? We discovered that. We knew it already, right? But the
You're right.
world discovered that during the pandemic,
Yes, yes, yes.
because who could afford, right, in all senses, to stay at home in the pandemic? The directors, the
Yeah.
executives,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Who did we need to come out in the middle of the pandemic to
Yeah.
make sure there's food on the shelves, to make sure that patients were being dealt with in the hospital, right? It's the people on the front line. They're the ones who do the work, right?
Yes.
Now, if you're not listening to them and valuing them, and valuing them is not, oh, at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m., let's all stand outside and clap our hands. That's not valuing them,
Right.
right? Valuing
Right.
them is making sure that they get paid slightly more than 1,000th of what the executive gets paid, right?
Yes. Yes.
It means that
Yes.
they have health benefits, and that they're treated as human beings, and that they don't just get fired, from one day to the next, and that, all that kind of stuff, right? So if you're not listening to these people and valuing them as human beings and treating them as human beings, guess what? They're not going to produce their best,
Right.
right? Who's going to give their best if they're not being treated as human being,
Right.
right? Or if they're being treated unfairly. So with this current setup, we've got the clients are not being attended to, and the people who actually do the work are not being attended to.
Mhm.
How is that sustainable? I mean,
It's not.
it's not fair, right? So from my worldview, right? My worldview, it's not fair and it's not right. I understand that there are people who might look at that and say, well, that's completely right, because, the boss should get, Elon Musk should get $59 billion salary, and the janitor at his factory should get, 15,000. There are people who will defend that, and you have every right to defend that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable. And it hurts the bottom line, because if your people are not producing what they can produce, then you don't get the results that you're looking for. So whichever way you look at it, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. And the pandemic also showed like how important, mental health is, wellness is, we had to find new ways to stay connected. So, the pandemic really challenged us, that globally to show up differently and to connect differently. DEI, whatever people want to call it, it doesn't matter what it's called as much as it does understanding that it's about that human connection. And one of the things that I've said with people regarding DEI, and the feeling that employees are supposed to have, they're supposed to have a sense of belonging. So that was the equation that we were going, that was determined for a bit. When I was in corporate, it was DEI equals B. So diversity, equity, inclusion equals B. Had I known then what I know now, I would add an A to that for accessibility, because that is the piece that reminds us of our needs, reminds us of what the community needs too. So what my suggestion to organizations to improve those soft skills, to improve those people skills, is to pay attention to what's needed. And yes, it is the responsibility of an employee to say, I need X, Y, and Z to get this done, to get that done. But if you understand a person and you understand what they're bringing to the table and you understand what's going on inside of them, you'll be able to offer help, when it might be hard for them to ask for it on their own. So if we work to be better humans, be better members of society, a lot of the tension and stuff that happens even at the project level will get worked out, because the goal will be success of the team, not just promoting an individual and giving that high five for job well done. It really is about the community.
Yeah, well, and there are models that talk about this, right? So it's just so people know we're not making this stuff up, right? I mean, apart from the fact that you and I, this is our lived-in experience. This is what we do. We help companies do this, right?
Yes.
But this isn't stuff we're making up, right? It's about dealing with all of your stakeholders, not just the shareholders. And we've gotten out of whack, right? At the moment, too many companies, the vast majority of companies, only care about return for shareholders. And shareholders are a stakeholder. Absolutely, they need their return. But they're only one of many, right? And like you said, the people who work there are stakeholders. They need a return, right? The customers are stakeholders. They need a return.
Mhm.
Right? The community that you live in and operate, they need a return, right? So companies that don't pay their taxes, companies that don't treat their people well, companies that screw over their customers are not dealing with all their stakeholders. And I give you a basic example of that, right? And please understand me, I am not defending this company. I'm not holding this company up as gold standard. I'm just using it as an example. But Johnson and Johnson, right, is an old, long-established company, right? They have got a huge track record of financial returns for decades and decades, more than a century, right? And yeah, they have all sorts of problems that big companies have, right? And acknowledging that. But they have a thing called the J&J Credo, which is on the wall in every single J&J office, right? It was written by General Johnson, who founded the company, who was the main shareholder when he wrote it. And it says, it's basically who we serve, right? Why we exist as a company. And we're here to serve the doctors and nurses, the mothers and fathers, a couple of other groups, and the shareholders. The shareholders come fifth on his list of importance. He wrote that when he was the main shareholder of the company, right? So So he writes about, we're here to serve doctors and nurses, mothers and fathers, the people who work for us. It's one other group, I think it's the communities that we serve, and the shareholders, right? Now, he wrote that over 100 years ago, right? And they're still going very strong, right? So this isn't some idea that we just dreamt up one day, right? This is how long-standing businesses have sustainable success. And if you only care about stock buybacks and shareholder return, it's not sustainable because you're screwing over all these other stakeholders.
Yeah. And it shows. It shows. So since I've been in this business for a long time, like I pay attention. So if I have to call into support for anything, like I can tell what's going on at the top by how the interactions are with the folks on the front line. So I'll make this a quick story. But last summer I had a horrible experience with an airline. I'm not going to name them. And it was so clear that the executives didn't care about my experience because the employees they're just like, the flight's canceled. Don't know what to tell you. That was the attitude.
Cell phone companies. We have this package. Well, I don't want that package. I want something else. No, we have this package,
Yeah.
right? Or software companies. I want to buy your software. You can't. You have to give us a monthly rental for it, and we can cut it off any time. Oh, and by the way, that streaming service that you signed up for. Well, we did a big corporate merger, and now those programs that you thought you had access to don't have access to anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
At no point are any of them thinking about or caring about their customers.
Yeah.
It's insane. And you know what? Here's a dirty little secret between us, right?
Okay.
Won't we sing and dance on their graves, the company's graves, when they go under? When those cell phone companies go under, when those streaming companies go under, we won't be crying and gnashing our teeth. We will be dancing on their graves. Good riddance to them. It's true though, isn't it? I mean, will you miss these airlines when they go bust? Would you miss these streaming companies or these cell phone companies when they go bust?
Not the ones that don't consider their clients. And I pay attention. I mean,
sure. And so it's just to bring this back to the audience so that why we're talking about this stuff, right? Number one, your voice is valid and should be valued. And please fight for it, right? We'll try and help. We will encourage other people to help. But your voice is valid and valued and needed, right? Don't listen to these people who are saying you don't have the right to have a seat at the table, you don't have the right to open your mouth, because they're wrong, right? They're wrong. If you're a business, open your eyes, look at the people and the potential that you've got available. Get your priorities right in terms of all of your stakeholders, right? You'll see the bottom line return, right? So we're talking real practical stuff here. This isn't just like, a shot in the breeze and stuff like that. We need everyone in the organization to start fighting for their voice to be heard, to start telling these old white guys, right, me included, your life experience is not the be all and end all of everything. It does not encompass all of life and universe's experiences, right? It's not, you don't have all the answers. You don't even know all the damn questions.
Right. And so that's my thing, because I don't have all the answers. Anyone claiming to have all the answers, it's just false. My thing is getting the right questions together, asking the right questions. What does success look like for you? What is it that you want to accomplish? And be really clear on that. And it can't just be, we want EBITDA to look like this. We want, the profit margins to be just that. It can't be, I mean, it can be that, and you're going to have a toxic environment. But what is it that you want your employees to experience? What do you want your clients to experience? And there's going to be a connection there and something that you can offer to just have people feeling good about your brand. It's all about the experience at the end of the day.
Well, so I ask this question of executives all the time. right? When they come up, well, we've got this, we're going to enter this new market, we've got this new vertical, we've got this, we've got that, we've got this goal and this plan. And I always ask them, why should your employees care about this? What will they gain? I mean, you can't even promise them that they'll gain still having a job, right? Because you'll happily divest them or you divest the division or get rid of them tomorrow, right? So you're basically saying to these people, we've got all these stretch goals. We want you to work 12, 14, 16 hours a day. We want you to bring all your creativity, all your innovation and everything. And in return, we're going to pay you as little as we possibly can. We're going to get rid of you at any point that we feel like it. We're going to strip out any benefit we can possibly do. And all the money that does come in is going to go to us. Why should someone do that? Why would they do that? Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And the executives always sit there and they go, yeah, well, but, and then it's like we have to change the subject because it's like there is no answer to it.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say this in my career, especially my time at Caliper, when Dr. Herb Greenberg was living, I enjoyed being a part of helping him to see his vision come to life. And him being him just being so committed to diversity, and
let's be honest with you, there are great companies out there. There are. So first of all, we have to value them and support them and help them. We have to go work for them. Do you know what I mean? Go find those companies that they're like plants, right? We need to nurture them and so that they grow. And if your company's not currently like that, let's do what we can to help change your company.
Yes.
Right? Because the vast majority of people who do work there want it to be like that.
Yeah.
Right? So there are great companies out there. We should not be settling for the worst examples, right? This isn't the norm. This isn't how it has to be, how it's always been, how it always will be, right? There is a brighter new world out there. So let's make it happen. Let's make it happen because without including people, right, to the fullness of everything that we have to offer, we won't get to the results that everybody wants.
Yeah, we won't. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So, George, I feel like I could go on and on forever. And there were some more things that I wanted to talk about, specifically about Black women and what Black women are feeling in corporate America right now. And, I've thought a couple of different ways of how to broach this topic, but it's one that's near and dear to me as a Black woman. Why are you, George, such an avid supporter of Black women? And why do you think it's so important for us to have a seat at the table, the leadership table, that is?
Number one, because I believe in the potential of every single human being, right? God didn't make mistakes, right? He created every single person individually. Every single person has a unique thing to offer the world, right? And Black women as a community, if you like, are horribly undervalued, underappreciated, underutilized in the best sense of the word, right? And this is where the growth is, right? Whether it's economic growth, whether it's spiritual growth, whether it's, just people growth, right? If we want to grow, let's use what's not being used, right? And this is potential and talent that isn't being used, right? So, I mean, it's something I believe in, but also I think it just makes massive sense because it's literally the low-hanging fruit. There are all these incredible people with unbelievable skill sets, with great experiences, with incredible things to offer, just not being used. I mean, to me, it's a complete no-brainer to say, okay, maybe we've kind of exhausted the white male with a European ancestry kind of line of thought. Maybe that's kind of, maybe not run its course, but maybe it's kind of up to where it, it can be. Maybe there's all these other experiences and opportunities that we can build up so that the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. I mean, it really is as simple as that, it's these wonderful people with incredible experiences with so much to offer. Let's help them make the contribution that they want to make.
Yeah. And when you say underutilized, because I hear that, and it's underutilized, their talent is being underutilized, or misaligned,
Yes. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, or not listened to, not included. There's an example in the guy who literally wrote the book on action learning, 27 of them, Michael Marquardt, who was the president of the World Institution of Action Learning. I was talking to him once at a conference here in Brazil. I was doing the keynote speech, and he said that one of the examples in his first book is, I think it was Samsung. There are a whole bunch of like MIT engineers in a room. They've been working for days trying to solve this mechanical problem, and they weren't getting anywhere. So they called out for a pizza, and the pizza guy came in, delivered the pizza, and he was looking at all these flip charts and whiteboards and everything up in the room, and he said, "What about that together with that?" And it was like, that was it. It solved it, right? Or it was the jumping off point for them to solve it. Okay. And there are all the people who study this stuff. Do you know that if you get together a diverse group of non-experts, they will come up with a better solution than a group of experts?
I believe it.
It's proven, right? Scientifically proven, right? Crowdsourcing, right? You crowdsource it. And that ties back to what we were talking about. There's all these incredible experiences and worldviews and things that only, let's say, Black women have been through, right? Mm. That's a missing piece of the puzzle because nobody's allowing that to be put on the table to be used.
Right. But what's coming to mind for me now is all the times that I sat in, meetings, any of the intense corporate meetings. And, I've always studied things. I've always listened and, I would speak up and, there'd be a lot of times where, some of the feedback I would get is, we didn't look at it that way. And I'm like, yeah, I know you didn't. And that's why I'm speaking up.
I can't look at it your way.
Yeah.
It's physically impossible for me to look at it your way. And isn't that wonderful? Mm-hmm. Right? Because all I have to do is listen to how you look at it, and we've got 2 points of view. We've got mine, we've got yours. Right. It really is that simple.
Yeah. Let's keep the conversation going. Let me know what you want to hear. Let me know what you want to know from George. I can get him back. We can have him back on here to talk about some specific things. If that interests you. So let me know. We're working together to move the needle and to have the challenging conversations. Whether we're calling it DEI or we're calling it just, let's be better humans. Let's figure it out. All right. Thanks, everyone. George, thanks again for being a part of this. I appreciate you, sir.